New at 6 tonight, we're seeing more cases of cyclosporiasis here in the east.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services confirming 718 cases across the state. 4 of those in Pitt County, 3 in Craven, 2 in Onslow, as well as 2 in Duplin County. State health officials say they're still working to identify a possible source, but say produce such as parsley and cilantro have been linked to some outbreaks.
Listen to me good. I don't know if this robot is an AI robot or if it's a real robot. But if this is a real robot, not an AI robot, we got a problem on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We got a problem on our hands. This is a real robot. Because robots shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff.
Some updates from the world of technology now. More than 30 community water systems in Minnesota were targeted in a coordinated cyber attack on July 26 and 27, according to the state's IT agency. Minnesota IT Services said the attack involved unauthorized access to multiple water system networks, while the investigation into the incident is still underway. The state agency said that it has not received any active requests from Minnesota cities asking residents to modify their drinking water usage. The incident came after local reports that 4 Minnesota cities had issued notices about cyber attacks on their networks. Officials have not identified the actors behind the attack, but said the timing, access, methods and targeted infrastructure show similarities with other coordinated cyber incidents against critical infrastructure. The services said the term attack was used because investigators found unauthorized access with malicious intent directed at the systems. The FBI said it is aware of the incident and is in contact with the affected organizations. The attacks targeted community water systems, which are part of the local infrastructure used to manage water operations. According to Minnesota IT Services, the attacks are similar to a wave of cyber intrusions against U.S. water infrastructure that officials have in the past attributed to Iranian-affiliated hackers. This has again raised concerns about the vulnerability of local utilities that serve millions of people. The incident comes as U.S. authorities have warned about cyber activity against water and other critical infrastructure. Just in April, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency warned that Iran-linked hackers had targeted internet-connected industrial control devices. The warning said these devices are used to operate machinery and control systems across different types of infrastructure. The U.S. has also previously warned about China-linked cyber activity against infrastructures. In 2024, U.S. agencies identified a Chinese state-sponsored group known as Volt Typhoon as having compromised networks of multiple critical infrastructure sectors, including water and wastewater system.
In light of advanced ChatGPT AI models escaping their lab and conducting cyber attacks, are you considering stronger controls on AI, and would you consider negotiating
regulations? Well, we're looking at AI, we're looking at controls. We're also making sure that we lead. So we're leading China in AI by a lot. China has virtually no controls. It's freewheeling a little bit. So we have to be careful in both ways. We don't want to restrict them where all of a sudden we come in second to China. Whoever wins with AI is going to win. That's how big it is. So it's bigger than the internet ever was. It's bigger than anything ever was. So I don't want to restrict. I know many of these people. I don't want to restrict them from doing great work. Yeah, please.
Under what scenario do you see Iran attacking U.S. installations and personnel overseas and you withdrawing? or?
I don't see that. No, we're not. No, we're gonna hit him very hard. I mean, I can actually say that because in that there's very little they can do about it. It was a different group than we're dealing with. They've already apologized, but you know we got to smack them a little bit.
Mr. President, you always going to hit back when they strike?
Will I always hit back?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Mr. President, just on a point of clarity on that, sir, is that in response to the attempted ballistic missile strike on Jordan last night? When you say it's our turn to hit back?
I think more so that, yeah, because it was another smaller event. But no, they sent 8,000-mile-an-hour missiles at us, and fortunately we had our people operating the greatest equipment in the world, namely the Patriot system. Think of it, 5 missiles going 8,600 miles an hour, big ones, coming right at us, and all 5 were shot down. How about that, right? Pretty good. Nobody else could do that but us, yeah.
Can I ask, how was your meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky yesterday?
It was good.
Did you see a time scale?
No, it was good. Look, you know, he's out doing his thing. I'd like him to end the war. So it's very simple. I get along with both. I get along with President Putin. I get along with President Zelensky. Like I told him, I wanted to end the war, get the war ended. Thousands of people, 25,000 people died last month. That's standard. And it's not acceptable.
震災当日ですね、だから27日、もうすぐ止まりました。料理ができない、お風呂に入れない、トイレが流せない、もう水はやっぱ一番大事ですよね。で私は車中泊してますけど、近くの公園で、その時はエコノミー諸国運転のやっぱりだから、時々出て歩いたり、寝返り打ったり。
Workers that are impacted by TPS, they're gone. They're not working.
Wilkinson Séjour owns Chef Creole. The restaurant has 7 locations, including Little Haiti and the airport. Even before TPS officially ended Monday, customers have slowly stopped showing up, and some of his workers already quit. The suspension of TPS impacts more than 300,000 people and their families. South Florida has one of the largest communities in the U.S. ICE is expected to step up enforcement with large-scale raids. Other industries are impacted as well, including healthcare and education. Broward County Public Schools says they're going to have to fire some workers.
They are across the organization. They're teachers, they're bus drivers, they're facility workers.
We spoke to a mother in her 40s who has 5 children here in the U.S. She is so scared she didn't want to show her face. She's also scared of being deported. She tells us the anxiety is intense. Her immigrant advocate translated for us.
We're all living in fear, even the
Civil
children.
rights attorneys say new evidence filed in federal courts shows ICE agents using racial slurs and unlawfully relying on race during operations. The Department of Homeland Security denies that its agents violated the law. NBC4's Makala Medina breaks down both sides.
Our first look at video from agents' body cameras worn during some of the operations that rattled the region last summer.
Why you gotta roll up on me like that? We got reasons. What's the reason? You'll know once you figure out who you are. Bro.
The recordings are among evidence produced during discovery and now filed in federal court in support of the ACLU's request for a preliminary injunction. Civil rights attorneys argue the evidence reveals a pattern of unconstitutional racial profiling during immigration enforcement operations. Attorneys also point to body cam video and text messages they say show agents referring to Latinos using racial slurs. The government is expected to file its response before a hearing scheduled for September 20th.
Make it much stronger. So perhaps you're very good at this. You can maybe tell them. I think they should put in for Russia, but I think they should put in for Iran. And that's really what Lindsay wanted. Yep.
And on Iran, one more, sir, sorry.
And good job at the dinner the other night.
Thank you.
Did a great job.
Thank you, appreciate that. President Xi told you that China would not give or sell Iran any weapons. And there's a new report that Iran's about to get 400 rocket launchers from China going through Pakistan to Iran.
Well, that would be surprising. I mean, things like that happen, but that would be surprising. He told me very strongly he wouldn't partake, and he knows I'd be quite disappointed. Yeah, please.
Mr. President,
And he's coming here, I think, on September 24th.
two questions. First, we're coming up on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and a good number of 9/11 families have called on New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani to not attend a number of these memorial services. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they're having a hard time with Mamdani. The people having to do with anybody having to do with 9/11 right now, on the victim side, and there are a lot of them, they're very unhappy with what's going on in New York, and they're very unhappy with the mayor. I understand that. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Republicans are underway in negotiating the budget. Would you sign a CR without the Save America Act attached? Is that something you want to see?
I'll have to look at it, but they should get to Save America. How simple can it be? Voter identification, proof of citizenship. I mean, now you have to understand the Democrats, not one Democrat will sign because they want to cheat. There's no way they can get elected if they don't, if that happens. But we should have unanimous Republican support. And if we don't, people should look at those Republicans. But think of it. Who would not sign voter identification with photo? And who would not sign proof of citizenship? Only people that want to cheat. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, guys. Thank you, President.
Thank you. Thank you, Bev.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Thank you. This way, please. Thanks, guys. Thank you. This guy going. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
And U.S. crude oil stockpiles have plunged to levels not seen in 4 decades as refineries ramp up production amid tensions in the Middle East. As of July 24th, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve had fallen to its lowest level in 43 years, dropping by 3.8 million barrels to around 307 million. The fall comes as American refineries operate at up to 100% capacity to export fuel to markets in Europe and Asia. The surge in shipments overseas appears to be driven by suppliers capitalizing on recent oil price hikes for higher profit margins.
Now, at least 6 people, including 3 children, are dead after Russia carried out a mass attack on Ukraine. The missile attack damaging and destroying several buildings and structures on the region. Strikes were also directed toward Kyiv, where at least 1 person was killed. These attacks are the latest in a number of large-scale Russian strikes on Ukraine.
Shifting focus to another special report. The world's most powerful warships are built to survive missile attacks. But China is developing weapons designed to make that defense harder. And now a new video appears to show one of Beijing's most dangerous anti-ship missiles being launched from a Chinese warship. And if this weapon can actually do what China claims, U.S. aircraft carriers could face a whole new and serious threat in the Pacific. Our next report breaking this down for you.
For decades, American aircraft carriers have been the ultimate symbol of military power. A floating airbase. Protected by destroyers, cruisers, fighter jets, and layers of missile defenses. But China is building a force designed to challenge that advantage. Now the ocean is no longer a safe haven for American warships. China's navy is growing in size and capability. Its missiles are faster, smarter, and more lethal. The U.S. carrier strike groups, once untouchable, now operate under a shadow. Beijing has released a glimpse of the weapon at the center of that strategy. Chinese state media has released a video showing a type destroyer launching the YJ-20 hypersonic anti-ship missile. It is a brief clip, but the message is clear. China's navy is not just building more warships, it is pairing them with weapons designed to attack high-value targets at sea. Also known as the Eagle Strike 20, the YJ-20 equipped with Boost Glide flight system. The YJ-20, with its remarkable range, hypersonic speed and near invulnerability to interception, could sink an aircraft carrier with a single hit. Hypersonic weapons travel at speeds above Mach 5 and can maneuver during flight, making them harder to track and intercept. That creates a major problem for aircraft carriers. A carrier strike group does not sail alone. It's surrounded by layers of protection. Destroyers and cruisers carry advanced radars and interceptor missiles. And above it, fighter aircraft patrol the skies. Electronic warfare systems can also disrupt incoming threats, but hypersonic missiles can compress the reaction time. Beijing has even built full-scale replicas of U.S. warships for military training and missile target practice. The message is hard to miss. China is practicing for a war in which American naval power could be the main target. And this latest video gives the world a rare look at the weapon itself. The YJ-20 was publicly displayed earlier during China's military parade in Beijing in September 2025, alongside other advanced weapons. China's navy is growing, its missiles are getting faster, and the distance between Beijing's weapons and America's aircraft carriers is becoming the central question of any future conflict in the Pacific. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Kim Jong-un's massive troop buildup for Vladimir Putin. Ukrainian President Zelensky warning Russia wants another 30,000 troops from North Korea to fight on the front line. Now, facing a hard reality at home, which is that the average lifespan of a Russian soldier from training to combat is only between 10 days to 3 weeks, according to Foreign Policy magazine and British intelligence. Will Ripley is out front.
At a cemetery for North Korea's fallen soldiers this weekend, Kim Jong-un, his wife, and daughter walked past the graves of Korean War dead. Now, Ukraine says Kim could send 30,000 more North Korean troops into another war. For Russian President Vladimir Putin, Kim sent more than 100 soldiers to march in Moscow's Victory Day parade in May. South Korea and Western militaries estimate more than 10,000 North Korean troops helped Russian forces recapture the Kursk region. And soon, Putin may be getting something even bigger from his partner in Pyongyang, says Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky, set to meet President Trump tomorrow in the Oval Office, a White House official says. Russia wants to bring in another 30,000 North Korean troops, Zelensky says, adding Ukraine's military has solid reports. Preparations are underway to receive them. He says they're headed to southwestern Russia, about 150 miles from Ukraine's border. Zelensky says Kim may also be sending several ballistic missile launchers. North Korean missiles are a lethal part of Putin's war machine. Ukraine says they're growing more accurate with every strike. Russia is helping North Korea learn how to wage war, improve its weapons, and gain real combat experience, Zelensky says. Kim built a new war memorial in Pyongyang with thousands of graves and space for many more. Ukraine's military estimates more than 6,000 North Koreans have already been injured or killed fighting for Russia, part of Putin and Kim's deepening anti-West, anti-U.S. alliance. A drastically different outcome than the vision of Kim's grandfather, North Korea's founder Kim Il-sung, who once hosted former U.S. President Jimmy Carter.
And I recall Kim Il-sung saying to me, we want to have good relations with the United States. That's all gone now.
Former CNN Beijing bureau chief Mike Chinoy made 17 reporting trips to North Korea. He says after Trump's diplomacy collapsed, Kim made a hard pivot to Russia and never looked back.
And I don't think he's interested anymore in having that kind of relationship because I don't think he trusts the United States.
Instead, Ukraine says Kim is betting big on Moscow, a bet that could soon mean another 30,000 North Korean troops fighting for Russia.
And tonight, despite thousands of North Korean troops fighting for Russia, only two are known to have been captured alive, Aaron. Ukrainian officials say that's because North Korean soldiers are under orders to avoid capture at all costs. Kim Jong-un has even praised what state media called soldiers who self-blasted with grenades rather than surrender. Ukrainian forces say some North Korean soldiers have even shouted Kim's name before pulling the pin on those grenades, Aaron.
Wow. Will Ripley, thank you very much.
Joining me now is Evelyn Farkas, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia, currently Executive Director at the McCain Institute. Evelyn, good to have you back.
Thank you, Jim. Likewise, it's great to be back.
So first, the experience of North Korean soldiers on the Ukrainian front lines has not been good, based on CNN and others reporting that the casualty rate has been enormously high, much as it has been for Russian forces there. Is this strategically significant for North Korea if they were to send 30,000 troops? Do you see that changing the dynamic on the front line?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to first add to what Mike Chinoy said, because I went to North Korea, including to Yongbyon, the nuclear facility, in 2008, when President George W. Bush was trying to make a deal with the North Koreans also to freeze their nuclear weapons program. So, unfortunately, we are way past that time. And North Korea really is clearly aligned now with Russia in a way that actually makes China somewhat uncomfortable. But the North Koreans, this providing 30,000 troops isn't going to change anything radically on the battlefield, between Ukraine and Russia. But what it does for North Korea, Jim, is it gets North Korea some deals. I mean, and we have reason to believe, based on reporting and sources in the U.S. intelligence community, that which were reported upon, that the North Koreans got some technology from Russia to improve their missile capabilities. So space, intellectual property pertaining to space, that they also are helping the North Koreans, that Russia is also helping the North Koreans with nuclear submarine technology. So these things are really valuable to Kim Jong-un. So I think he'll say, yeah, I'll keep sending the troops.
So this is already an expansion of Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine to have North Korea, a fellow nuclear power, involved. Now you have Ukraine striking Iranian ships, bringing drones to Russia. And of course, those Iranian Shahed drones have had enormous deadly impact on Ukraine. And you also have, of course, the Houthis now threatening shipping in the Red Sea. Just as you see a new front in the Iran war and a connection between the Iran war and the Ukraine war, does that give you fears of just a broader regional escalation?
No, Jim, only because they've been helping one another all along. It just hasn't been as public. You heard Zelensky saying that Russia provided, intelligence to the Iranians to target U.S. forces in the Middle East. The Iranians have been providing they provided the first Shahed drones to Russia, which then Russia improved upon and then sent back the technologically improved drones to Iran. So they've been collaborating all along. China, of course, sells to both sides in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But I think we need to understand that these are adversaries working together, and this just makes it much more obvious because it's out there now in the Middle East.
Kim, let's start with Ukraine, as that's the first meeting that's going to happen this morning, and it's part of Lindsey Graham's legacy as well. How different are the circumstances are you seeing, viewing, and hearing, and the relationship between Trump and Zelensky now versus what we've seen between those two men in the past?
Well, it's definitely warmed up, and President Zelensky is coming in with the backdrop of winning on the battlefield. At least that is the perception worldwide, that Ukraine is really getting some traction, especially the way it is menacing Moscow and St. Petersburg. President Putin just had a Navy Day parade yesterday, which was just 40 sailors in front of a big mural of a submarine, whereas in the past it was several, dozens of ships, submarines, thousands of troops. But 2 years in a row, they've had to cancel that because of the drone threat from the Ukrainians. So that is the kind of thing that makes Zelensky look like he's winning to Trump. And Zelensky is also bringing intelligence to back up his claims over the weekend that Russia is sharing satellite imagery with Iran to help Iran strike U.S. targets in the Gulf.
You recently said that the U.S.-Israel relationship is like a wall of granite, and there are just some people who are looking to find cracks in it. But as you know, the American support for Israel is plummeting. According to a recent poll, 32% of Americans look at your government favorably. That's a 15-point drop in just the last 4 years. When you think of it like that, do you think that Israel has a messaging problem, an image problem, or a policy problem?
I think there's been a change because of the proliferation of social media and the fact that sovereign countries have manipulated with bot farms and other things. And we can see a direct relationship between the proliferation of the social media and the decline in support for Israel. Now, I'm not telling you that the war in Gaza and the way that it was misrepresented here and the lies that were put forward, that didn't influence this. It did, unfortunately. But I am saying that there is those who hate Israel hate America, and those who hate America hate Israel. And I think that it's a larger issue that is a larger battle that is being waged here for the soul, the heart and soul of young Americans. I think it's a broader thing. Does it concern me? Yes. Yes, it does. And I want bipartisan support for Israel because I think that's a fundament of our national security.
But doesn't it go beyond social media? Because you have genocide scholars, you have humanitarian groups, the United Nations, who have all said that Israel has committed war crimes. So would you say that you bear any responsibility?
Not for war crimes. I think that's hogwash. I mean, they say genocide, right? Okay. Well, first of all, who says genocide? The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court who came up with this. Genocide is the attempt to wipe out a people, the actual attempt and plan to wipe out a people, and the actual action that you do. In Gaza, they accuse us of genocide. We sent millions of text messages and millions of phone calls and millions of leaflets telling Palestinians, civilians, get out of harm's way so that we can take out the Hamas terrorists who are embedded in your schools, your hospitals, your communities. Hamas stopped the civilians from leaving at gunpoint. Clearly, and that's how we got civilian casualties that eventually went down, I'm happy to say. Why did we do that? If we had this genocidal intent, we obviously didn't. It's the exact opposite. The genocidal intent was Hamas. They wanted those civilians killed so they can go on TV or go to the corrupt International Criminal Court and accuse us of war crimes. But that's not us. We value every civilian life.